his whole life had been referred to by others as boy, 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 boy. Never be a man. Never in his life would he be a man under those circumstances. And here for the first time he hears, you are equal to any man. I think you can understand why that might appeal to him. He actually becomes a Muslim and rises up in the ranks, right? And it's in his autobiography and in that movie, when he goes to Mecca on the Hajj, he comes back a different person. Now, up until this point, he is a very angry young man, especially at the white folks who had always called him and treated him like a boy, right? He goes to the Hajj, where everyone dresses alike, no distinction between socioeconomic class, right? For the first time, he sees people from every continent on earth living together, eating together in peace. He is transformed. He is transforming. When he comes back to the United States, you can see it in his message. His message begins to change. And it's less about division of the races and more about reconciliation, right? And then, of course, what happened to him? Who knows what we lost? We'll never know, right? Because of that ignorance, lack of understanding. There it is again. There it is again. I mentioned Sufi Muslims. Sufi Muslims, the mystical tradition. There is a poet named Rumi, R-U-M-I. Google Rumi. R-U-M-I. Great medieval Sufi poet. I love this guy because he's writing with a religious sensibility, but he hasn't lost that worldly touch. For instance, one volume of his poetry is entitled The Tavern, and the first line is, "Whoever brought me here will have to take me home," which I think might be history's first example of a designated driver, right? I love this guy because he sees the divine in and through nature, which is to say he's a Muslim, right, in a religious tradition where the divine is understood to be separate from humans and nature and needs to step in, right? But he actually is shifting over into this other way of understanding things, that you find the divine in the world and not outside it, right? And for him, it's all about love. It is all about love. And he uses the imagery, and this may strike you as racy. I don't know. If it does, then read the Song of Solomon, right? The Song of Songs. How that book ever got into the Bible, I don't know, but I certainly never heard a sermon preached on it, okay? But he uses this, he uses what can come across sometimes as rather racy language. But what he's doing is he's doing what a lot of religious folks in different religious traditions have done. You know, there are certain metaphors, and again, it's metaphorical, right? It's metaphorical. For our relationship with the divine, there's the Father, and we're the children, right? There's the Lord, and we're we use the term servants, but in the ancient world, and still all too often today, the word would be slaves, right? Again, do you see that hierarchical relationship either way, right? Well, there's this tradition that you find of a different kind of love. It's the love of a couple. It's the love of a couple. And it isn't just all, sanitized and spiritualized to the detriment of the physical. No, it embodies itself in the physical. So that for Sufis, and Rumi in particular, as with other religions, you think of the Kama Sutra, right, from Hinduism. And again, it's in the Jewish and Christian scriptures, but it doesn't get a lot of attention, right? That we live in these bodies. God created these bodies, and we can consider them to be filthy and sinful and carnal if we want, but I would suggest that's just one reading of the situation, and there might well be others, right? When God appears to his ardent lover, that would be you and me, the lover is absorbed in him, and not so much as a hair of the lover remains. You ever felt like that about somebody? Oh, baby, I'm lost in you, right? That's what he's talking about. True lovers are as shadows, and when the sun shines in glory, the shadows vanish away. He is a true lover of God, to whom God says, I am thine, and thou art mine, right? Wedding vows, wedding vows. Love exalts our earthly bodies, not just our spirits, our earthly bodies to heaven, and makes the very hills to dance with joy. O lover, 'twas love that gave life to Mount Sinai when it quaked, and Moses fell down in a swoon. And then there's this. And I cannot think of a more fitting way to bring this journey, at least this leg of our journey together, to a close. There was a time when I blamed my companion if his religion did not resemble mine. Now, however, my heart accepts every form. It is a pasture for gazelles, a monastery for monks, a temple for icons, and a Kaaba for pilgrims. Love alone is my religion.